All right, welcome to this segment, the module differentiation. What we're going to really spend time on is what makes you different. You have a strategy, you know it's a set of activities. Now, in order to position yourself differently, in order to create value, you have to be able to create differentiation. You have to be different. And your message needs to be different. And we're going to go through that right now. Now, when we look at strategy, you've seen this graph before, but it's slightly altered. There's three types of salespeople, predominantly. There is your C players, your B players, your A players. So your C players are people that really just focus on products and services, right? There's most of the salespeople I deal with and that are in the selling services supply. They're C players. Not all, but many of them. They really don't spend any time educating themselves on sales skills, on business skills, on adding value. They simply show up and they start talking about their products or services, and the customer's interested in products or service. They show the product, and of course they give a price, and the customer finally agrees on a price based on the market and the other competitors, and they win the business. They don't win the business. But as you move up, you can only become a B player and ultimately an A player by creating more value, right? More value. Another word for value is in shareholder value. It's profit, right? So how do you create more profit? A B player makes more profit than a C player, and an A player makes more profit than a B player. So let's look at what you need to do to get out of being a C player and move up towards B and ultimately towards an A. What you need to do is we need to recognize the importance of having a marketing strategy, sales and marketing, right? A marketing strategy. So marketing strategy, positioning, it's about positioning. It refers to the way a customer thinks and talks about you and your company when you are not there. The position you hold in the customer's mind determines all his reactions and interactions with you. So stop and think about that for a sec. How does the customer talk about you when you're not there? You probably don't know, and you probably think it's probably pretty good. But you're going to know based on the value and the profit that you are selling at. Because if you're low profit, if you're industry average, then it doesn't matter that you think you're great, that you think you're good. The reality is that you're selling in the industry average. However, if you're selling more and higher and more profitably than the industry average, then the odds are that the position that you hold in the customer mind determines his, her reactions and interactions with you. The reaction is going to be to hold more value to you, to pay a higher price. So our position determines whether the customer buys, whether he buys again, and whether he refers others to you. Everything we do regarding our customer affects the way the customer thinks about us. So we need to recognize that in order to create differentiation, that comes by the value they hold about you, how they think about you, how they talk about you when you're not around. So we need to recognize that positioning plays an important role in us, right? We are the demand side, the salespeople. We're creating demand in the marketplace. We talked about this in strategy. We're talking about this as we move into differentiation. So when we talk about differentiation, it's your ability to separate yourself and your product or service from that of your competitors. Say that again. It's your ability to separate yourself and your product or service from that of your competitors. It's the key to building and maintaining a competitive advantage. What's a competitive advantage? We talked about that. It's profit. Okay? Profit more than industry average. So this is the advantage that you and your company have over the competitors in the same marketplace. The unique and special benefits that no one else can give your customer. Now, I want to spend a moment and just talk about this. It's the advantage that you and your company. See, if you don't work for a company that can support you and maintain a level in the marketplace, a position in the marketplace that allows you to sell more profitably, then you are on the wrong team and you need to get out. Because if you spend all this time investing in yourself, you take it to the marketplace, And they say, yeah, this is great. And your value chain in the organization, you don't have any stock, you're back ordered, the inside, the customer service that takes the order is rude, the driver is sloppy, they deliver the product poorly, then it doesn't matter what you do, that's going to fail. That's why the value proposition and the value chain are so important for the value creation process. Likewise, if the company does everything right and you are unprofessional and rude and don't create any value, it doesn't matter what your company does to try to help you. You are destroying and wrecking and undermining the whole advantage, the whole strategy. So it takes the sales team, the salesperson, and the organization to be working together, unified on a strategy or a set of activities to create differentiation. And finally, it's especially now with social media, with being virtual, that you create a personal brand. Okay, and your personal brand is important. It's important. Your personal brand, your company's brand, or even your own personal brand is what separates you from the competition. And so, we'll get your customers to buy from you over and over again. Okay, so recognize this as we head right into creating differentiation. And creating differentiation begins with you fundamentally understanding, what do we really do? Let's address that in the next video.